Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Hey guys, welcome to Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest,
Sarah Murphree.
Welcome to the show, love.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you said yes.
Yeah, thanks for asking. This is exciting. Especially during COVID, you know?
Right, absolutely. So, I mean, I think you're so amazing. I mean, you do it all. You're a writer, you're a mental health advocate, you're an actress, you do comedy. I mean, you're really a jack of all trades. So, I mean, let's start from the beginning, right? Like, you're from Nashville, Tennessee, a Southern girl at heart. Yeah. I'm from the South as well, from Florida.
Oh.
I love your vibe. Like, I think you're just such a wonderful person, and all that you're doing. I mean, just who you are today and just that journey. So you grew up in I don't know, is Tennessee a small town?
Not really. It's funny. When I say I'm from Tennessee in California, people just assume like cows and country.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, it is a city. You know, it's not that. I do have cousins that owned farms and had horses and cows that I was around often, but it definitely, was, a bustling city, I would say, but not as it is like right now. Right now, it's like, I don't know that Nashville. It was not that big.
So growing up in Tennessee, because I read your bio, you were a photojournalist? How did that, how did you do, like, how was that transition? And then you traveling the world? I mean, that's pretty amazing. How did you do that?
It's funny. I think as a creative person, you always go through, I will say, growing pains till you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is who I am. Because growing up in the South, I remember just like always hearing from my parents and aunts and uncles and teachers, like, you can't do so many things in life, Sarah. You have to choose one thing. And even a desire to work in entertainment was always shut down. Like, you can't be an actor. You don't know anybody there. Who do you know in California? Like, I don't come from a family of entertainers. So to them, they were just like, you want to move 3,000 miles away? What? And especially in the South, I think, acting, writing, anything in the entertainment industry has this kind of tagline of starving artist, struggling artist. You can't make a living. You can't have a family.
Yeah.
So, to them, I was just really like saying goodbye to be in and challenging situations, which there definitely are living in LA. But I think moving to LA was amazing because I found so many people like me, and I was around anybody like me. So I often questioned, like, why am I so creative? Why do I love to write stories? Why do I want to act? You know, and I think for so long I questioned my desire for all of this because I was ingrained to believe it was wrong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So basically, I went to school to be a journalist, and I minored in theater and screenwriting. And I loved writing, and journalism was kind of like my stable route. You know, it was like, okay, I could do this and then transition to screenwriting, entertainment. I'm like, I can start off like getting a resume.
Yeah.
Transition. So went to school to be a journalist, and my focus was going to be a news anchor. And in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, news anchors are hosts. They're a survivor. They're actors. Like, this is my plan. I'm going to be a news anchor and then become an actor.
Right. It's a great plan. Yeah,
you know, I was like, I'll make have an income, it'll be great. But it was just like mind-blowing. When I went to school to be a news anchor, basically we were taught how to lie to the public because they believe the public can't handle the truth. And I was just that working as a journalist or news reporter in that industry was like, oh my gosh, it was so seedy. And they're really teaching us, here's the truth. Now let's skew it for ratings. Let's heighten it. Let's put this person. And I didn't believe in that. And so I decided to walk away from that route. I was like, I just have no interest in doing that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I ended up going the nonprofit route. And I fell in love with that world. So after college, I worked as a photojournalist, a freelance photographer and blog writer for different mission trips in Haiti, Ecuador, Nepal. And I was like, it's like if you are ever struggling, I say like going on a mission trip or being in a third world country, those people have so much spirit and love and faith. I feel like I was just healed all around. Like, but my desire to work in entertainment was still there. And I felt so guilty that I was doing like, I guess, quote unquote, such great work. And yet I went to bed, I like thought about, you know, being in the movies or writing screenplays and auditions. And I felt guilty about that.
What year was this?
Oh gosh. Like it was, so I graduated college, stayed back home for 3 years while doing, I came to LA when I was 24. Gosh, so it was like 9 years ago.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and so it's funny because I think, you know, I love that saying that the Lord works in mysterious ways, because these countries I went to, I never sought out. They kind of just came to me. And in every country, these children were like living off $1 a day. They had one meal. They were starving. And all of them would come up to me and want to talk about Hollywood and the movie. And they wanted to know if I knew Brad Pitt. And I had never been to LA in my life. And I was like, it was wild. Oftentimes they would watch Hollywood movies on bootleg. And this was their like hope for the day.
Right.
And many didn't have parents that were home. And so they learned like their lessons and morals through movies made in America.
Wow.
I know. And I think for me to see that, I was like, wow, you can have so much impact on people who are really struggling by making a movie or telling a story through in Hollywood. There's so much good that can be done. And so after my third trip, I just felt like it was time. I was like, yeah, I think I'd gotten over like, this is not a selfish desire. There's good you can do. And I've seen it.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love that, you know, would you say after that, seeing those kids that were so inspired by those stories, that's when you went into make a short film yourself, and then you won an award. Like,
you did research.
Like 2013. That's incredible. Was that when you?
Yeah, I think I also knew going to LA, like I've been working in nonprofits. I had no money. I had no connections. And I think in my mind, I was just like, I'm the underdog. And so for me, I was like, I want to know everything about this. The writing, directing, I want to know it all. So I'm just so prepared and I can understand how a movie works. So yeah, and I think before I moved to LA, I also had the gift of not having to pay crazy rent. And that was like such a godsend because 2 short films and won at the Nashville Film Festival. And I remember the year that happened, I was like, okay, I have something, because I was told for so many years, like these gifts of being a creative are actually downfalls because you can't make a living.
Wow.
So that award, I was like, I'm going to LA.
I love that.
So it was interesting. Just like that recognition from people in the industry, I was like, okay.
So you get to LA and you want to do the acting and writing career in LA. So you get to, you don't know anyone. How is that?
Well, before I moved, I asked anybody in Nashville, who do you know in LA? I'll meet anyone for coffee. And I had 9 people, 3
Nice.
people. And I met them all for coffee. And let me tell you, I was driving from Venice. I drove all over this whole area. And my first job, I ended up getting a job as a movie critic at Movie Guide. And it's crazy because the reason I got that is because he flew into Nashville and held a conference for writers and faith in film content. And I went to it.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked him for his business card. And I was like so excited. I was like, I'm moving to LA. Can I meet you for coffee? This is the president of like the biggest platform for family movies. I had like no idea it was like wrong to ask the president for their business card. Blissfully naive. And I was like, and he was like, you've come up to me to ask for my business card to me. I was like, yeah. He gave it to me. He goes, if you really move, everyone says they're going to move. If you really move, email me. So anyway, the day I get in LA, I emailed him and I get booted to his secretary who's like, oh, there's a 3-month waiting list to go to coffee with Mr. Ted. I'll add you to it. Like, this is LA, not Nashville, where people have a lot of time on their hands. Got it. So I remember meeting him and he gave me like, basically his parents were like the lead actors in Showboat. He was born and raised in Hollywood. And he saw the dark. He saw everything, the good, the bad. And he told me, I'll never forget this. He was like, you want to be a writer and an actor? He's like, if you come here to focus on both of those, you can't make it. You have to choose one because they're so heavy that you can't try to do both at the same time. You can, but you won't get. And he was like, if I give you any advice, don't choose to be an actor, choose to be a writer.
Huh.
And I had already chosen in my mind to be an actor. I was like, oh, I'm going to be an actor. And he was like, that is the hardest route to get into the industry. And it's not an easy life. He said, if you want a quality of life, be a writer. And so it was interesting because I chose acting and I began going to auditions and I was waiting tables at night to be flexible for auditions. And I was like, but I was so excited. I was like, oh, this is great. Everyone is an actor. Then I learned nobody likes actors in LA. Oh my gosh. I thought it was like a selling point. I told everyone and they're probably, I learned very quickly, don't tell people you're an actor.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I was waiting tables and getting paid as a movie critic. So I was writing that, but on the side, I was it's so interesting. I always keep a journal in my car and oftentimes I have to wait for an audition, so I just write in that journal. I was writing poetry and stories and journaling. So I was always writing, but I wasn't pursuing it to sell a story or get money. But it's so interesting because
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
For time in the acting world, auditions would come, and if I didn't believe in the story, and there's a lot of just wretched story ideas writing, I had no desire to audition.
Right.
This feels so meaningless. And I think, because I really auditioned hard for 2.5 years, and it was working, it was going, but I had no quality of life. I work, I memorize lines. I go to auditions. I work. I memorize lines. I self-tape. I go to class. And it was so challenging to like have a community. And even when I met people, it was like, oh, we go to coffee for 1 hour. They go, I go. It's like, it was always coffee meetings as opposed to like
friends, an actual connection.
Yes. Yeah. And it was like, and then like, it's not even, and sometimes I'm like, wow, I guess I found that, oh my gosh, this is how everybody is. You have to be so focused on your career because as an actor, because auditions come the night before, you never know when they're coming. And I had to cancel so many like birthday parties or events because this one could be the one to get you out of tables. This could be the one to get you out of your apartment. Like,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah. It's an interesting hustle and bustle for sure.
Totally. And yeah, I think after about, it was my third year here, and I had lost the spirit and love for it. And I was like, this is not what I thought. And in Nashville, actors come from a mindset of like, this is a community.
Right.
We're in this together. And in LA, it's very like, you're my competition. This is the world. So my gosh, like, it was tough meeting. In fact, I met another girl and we like had a similar height, hair, like we were both Caucasian with blue eyes. Oh my, it was like evilness. I was like, we're so different. I don't even, and so that kind of was hard to wrestle with, that like people don't necessarily come here for friends.
Right.
You know, they come here for their career.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's kind of hard to like, you know, meeting people for the first time and you're not really sure what category to put them in. So it's like, you know, I don't know. We're having coffee, but then I don't know if we're friends or hanging out or I keep it as my competition.
Yes.
It's such a crazy world, unfortunately. But I do like what you did, you know, with the whole, you know, writing and you're focusing on that and also being an advocate for mental health. I just got to touch on that. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Why is mental health so important?
So my mom is schizophrenic. She's been diagnosed with bipolar, schizophrenia, and she went undiagnosed for 50 years. So growing up as a child, I mean, all the things you can imagine. It was like she'd talk to walls, or she'd have these episodes, and sometimes she's like so kind, and then she's triggered by something, and it's like an evil person just comes out. Mm. And I always knew something was wrong. I felt that, but I'd never heard of mental illness, didn't know about any mental health conditions. And it's funny, my desire to be a journalist, because I feel like as a child, I was always clock working, like, what's wrong with mom? What's wrong with mom? And yeah, and so a lot of what I have written is all around, most of what I write is like, think like parenthood. It's all like family oriented. There's like mental health. It's like, there's humor, but there's also like dark family stuff. Because as a child, I realized my mom was at the theater and read stories and saw plays. Like, it's like the most beautiful parts of her were back. Because through movies and plays, she was allowed to feel emotions that she didn't let herself feel as a human. And when I became a stand-up, I was like flooded with people who have mental health conditions and who, gosh, have like so many suicidal thoughts, and they're so dark and struggling. And
well, they do say comedy though, right? Comedy, a lot of comedians are very sad. You know, like Robin Williams, you know, that was why. I mean, he was such a funny guy, but then I just saw his documentary they posted, you know, but he had all these like problems and things that was happening in his life. And I'm just like, wow, you just never know. You never know.
That is so, so true. Because when I'd be at stand-up shows, I'd be in the green room and I'd have these amazing deep conversations about pain and trauma. And then you have to get on stage and be funny.
Whoa.
And most comedians I began to find, they didn't want to be funny. They're like, I want to talk about the pain, but nobody wants to hear about it. They've paid money to laugh. So that's what I have to do.
I see. Which is interesting because like you're the host and founder of was it Sold Out and live storytelling, which is like for like funny people cry too. It's like it's a community of people that like, and you said the proceeds, which I think is absolutely incredible concept, goes to the Alliance of Mental Health, and that's pretty incredible. So how did you get involved in that?
Well, it's interesting. So basically as a stand-up, stand-up is so good. I feel like everyone can do it. You learn so much about yourself. And I realized I'm not the best joke teller by any means, but I am a storyteller. Yeah. That's what I love to do. And being in that world for 3 years, seeing all these comedians wanting to share like true stories about the journey that got them to the jokes, I was like, I'm going to make this show. You guys, we all do stand-up shows, but we want to do like more real shows that can help heal people.
Right.
So this idea came to me in a dream, actually, and it was so powerful. I was like, I think I have to do this. So I created this show called Funny People Cry Too. And imagine like stand-up, like, except you're not there to laugh. You're there to hear somebody's story about mental health. And the irony of it all is these stories some are so heartbreaking, but some are actually so funny because they're so absurd. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Right.
Yeah. Like I remember, and so basically I launched it last year and it took the life out of me. Whoa! Oh my gosh. Because I was a producer and creating it, and yeah, but it sold out, and it was just so inspiring to be like, wow, people want to hear about people's pain.
Absolutely. I think it's therapeutic in a way, right? To talk about it. It's very healing. Yeah.
Yeah. And after the show, like my ultimate hope is that it creates like this beautiful community.
Yeah.
As opposed to like you go to a show and go home, or go to a show and you go to a bar with like your one friend. And after the show, people had been so vulnerable that people were just like, I was like, oh yes, they're like becoming a family. It's like, oh,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Wow. That's beautiful. I mean, I'm sure it's going to do very well, and it's going to continue to grow. So, I mean, hopefully after COVID is over, things can come back, right?
And we had our second show scheduled like the week before, or like 2 or 3 weeks before COVID hit.
Yikes.
And then, so it hasn't happened due to COVID, but it will come back.
That's right. Okay, I have a fun question. Okay. If there was a biopic based on your life, who would play you?
That is so funny you asked that because, so I have a few books I've written that are coming out this year, but my biggest one, finally, it's been like 7 years, so I'm like, I gotta stop looking at them. But my one that's closest to heart is a memoir about being the daughter of a mom who went undiagnosed with schizophrenia. And my dream is for this to be a movie. And I always, they say in Hollywood or in the entertainment world, create what you want to see, or create as opposed to always hopping on for other people's visions. Right. So I created this after I got worn down by scripts I was, I guess, deeply not interested in, or horrified, or like, what is going on? But I always thought I'd play myself. But now as time progresses, I'm like, whoa, well, it takes years to make a movie, so I might be too old to play young. So, I've never. It's funny. I could tell. So it's a mother-daughter movie, and I could tell you Susan Sarandon would play my mother. She is so much like her mother. They look alike. They talk alike. But to play me, I have no idea, to be honest.
Interesting. Well, there you go. Well, now,
You've given me food for thought. I think,
hey,
yeah.
you know, that's awesome. Well, that's exciting. I can't wait to see the movie. I can't wait to see that movie. Last question. What advice would you give to someone that wants to enter into the industry?
Wow, it's so funny because I asked that. I think when I asked people for advice about entering into the entertainment industry, all of them said the same thing: don't do it. Every single person. Like, we know
You hear that, people just listening, don't do it. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was like, and now I kind of see the same reason. I'm like, oh, you want to be an actor? Oh, no, that's not the advice you get, but I understand why you say that. Advice I would get is, oh, you have to be so good at being alone before you come into this business. And I often think it's the introverts that are ones that have lasting careers, because whatever you do, you spend a lot of time alone, editing, writing, memorizing lines. And I'm an extrovert, but I do love alone time. Like, I could read books all day. And sometimes I think that is one reason that has allowed me to not turn back, is because I'm okay at being alone. But I've seen some of the most talented people go home because it's like, yeah, this is a career where you're actually alone quite more than you imagine. I feel like y'all worked so hard to get that film family, like to get that show where we have like coworkers and like the camaraderie of being together, but it takes quite a long time to get that film family. Oh, and I do have one more piece of advice. This is actually the best advice I ever got. And Eric, who's my husband, he taught me this. He was like, because when you come to LA, you'll be bombarded with things or careers or jobs to do that it can be tricky to know which one to really focus on. He said, what you're meant to do in entertainment is what you love doing. He said the grunt work. He said whatever grunt work you love doing is what you're meant to do. It was very helpful for me because he's an actor, and when he would get auditions, it was like he won the lottery. He would sit for hours, stay up all night dissecting this script, these characters. And when I get an audition, I'm like, I don't have that. But if you say I have like 3 hours by myself to write today, I'm like, this is going to be the best day of my life. And so that was very helpful for me to realize that I'm a writer first. Yeah, I think one reason acting was harder for me on my journey is because my desire to write triumphed, and it came on the back burner for so many years.
I like that. That's good advice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for coming on. Until next time, remember, live, love, laugh.